All right, as you saw there, two new polls out today and both smell disaster for Labor. Let's start with the AFR Freshwater poll. It has the Coalition opening up a lead, 52-48 over Labor. That's the biggest since last election for that poll. The same poll also found 70% of voters, almost 70%, I think it's 69 or something, were unlikely to be swayed towards Labor by that recent cut in rates. The only glimmer of hope here for the Prime Minister, his net approval has gone up slightly, -11. Now, the other poll's more disastrous. This one's from Resolve Political Monitor, published, of course, in The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. It's a shocker here for Labor, 55-45 to the Coalition, two-party preferred. Labor's primary vote in this one crashing to a new low of 25%. For more, I'm joined now by Sky News contributor Chris Uhlmann. Chris, great to see you. Let's talk about that poll. How do you see things looking at those numbers?
Well, particularly the Resolve one, Peter, if they're on 25% of a primary vote, that is catastrophic. Let's not forget at the last general election, they had 33% of the vote, which was an historic low for the Labor Party, and they've been trending down for a very long time. But so then has the Coalition. 31% would be bad enough. You know, that's obviously hung Parliament territory. 25%, you'd started talking about Peter Dutton governing his own right. Certainly that would be the case. So look, you know, there's an old saying in politics and in polling, as you know, the trend is your friend. And at the moment, the trend in all the polls that we can see, and we have to wait for the one on election day, but the trend in every single poll is towards Peter Dutton, and you were beginning to get the feeling that perhaps the swing is on. Now, the problem for him, of course, is if he gets into a position where he can't quite get there and needs to negotiate with the crossbench, because I think any government that's in minority in the next term is on a hiding to nothing.
Let's just have a look at the pull out of the topics that are shifting votes in that Resolve poll trend. And clearly the only one where the government is leading is the one there right at the end, 37-28 against the Coalition on healthcare. Well, surprise, surprise, we've got Mediscare 2.0 underway.
Yeah, and that's why it's happening at the moment, and that's precisely where the Labor Party's gone. In fact, the last two elections, and clearly sees some profit in doing that again. I am a bit disturbed that the Coalition immediately signs up for the Labor Party's spending plan, because neither of them have a plan on how to pay for it, and we seriously have problems with Australia's debt at the moment. So I don't like to see a bidding war when we have no money, but money that we borrow to spend with. However, if you look down that Resolve poll, and I was going through it this morning, on every matter that counts, and particularly on cost of living, the Coalition is well and truly in front of Labor. Cost of living, national security, you name it, crime. The Coalition leads the Labor Party on every measure that matters, until you get down to welfare and that sort of thing, where the Labor Party pulls ahead of the Coalition. So all of the trends are trending away from the Labor Party at the moment.
Yeah, you make the point there about the Coalition matching the funding almost immediately. And look, I have sympathy for Peter Dutton on this front. I don't like it, but I have sympathy because the common refrain from Labor is that when the Coalition was in 2013 and 14, they cut funding, health funding. Well, in fact, they didn't. It was only in year 4 of the hospital funding agreement they didn't increase it as much as Labor said they would increase it. But in overall terms, in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, there was a healthy increase. Now, this is the problem. That's the facts. But if you can't get the facts out in the public domain, and if Labor's core equity is health more so than the Coalition, you're on a hiding to nothing.
Yeah, and I do understand it as well. I think one of the most effective campaigns that I have ever seen is the one that Bill Shorten ran against Malcolm Turnbull, where on the morning of the election I was getting out at Central Station, and as I left, someone handed me something that looked exactly like a Medicare card. You turn it over, it said Save Medicare on the back of it. So from the time it took you to be handed that thing, to look at it and throw it in the bin, you got the message. So it was a really, and it was at every exit to Central Station, there were people from the unions handing out those cards. And remember, on the election night, Malcolm Turnbull very much blindsided by the fact that that election campaign with Bill Shorten saying save Medicare for the last couple of weeks bit really hard. So I understand where the Coalition is coming from. I understand why it would want to blanket any of these things to try and cover off what the Labor Party is doing, but I also think that it comes at a great cost for the community in the long run. And I can't say that throwing more and more and more money at these things actually makes them any more effective. I think we've got to look at government funding in total and ask the question, are we getting value for money right across the board?